We are here with Doug Sherman, longtime voice of MAAC Television and a former Siena radio broadcaster as well. And Doug, for our 30th Moments, we want to take you back to March 4th of 1990. First year Siena was in the MAAC. They made the semifinals. They played with Salle. And why don't you take it away from there? As you told me a long time ago, one of the most poignant moments in the MAAC that you've experienced.
Yeah, well, I was the radio announcer for Siena at that time, and the game was being played. The tournament was up in Albany that year at the then called Knickerbocker Arena. And, you know, for anybody who's followed the MAAC for any length of time, they understand that that LaSalle team was the best we've ever seen at that time. They had 3 future NBA players. They had the National Player of the Year in Lionel Simmons. And, you know, they were mostly Philly kids. So I'm doing the game from a Siena perspective. The Siena team is losing in the final minute of play when there's a timeout. And I come out of my commercial break, and just observing what's going on the court, I notice that Lionel Simmons has his head in his hand, and he's surrounded by his teammates. And I'm thinking, does he have a migraine headache? What on earth could be causing this to go on? And there was another break in the action, and at that point, my board operator back at the radio station, who had access to the Associated Press wire, told me what had occurred on the West Coast, that Hank Gathers had just died on the court while playing for Loyola Marymount. And very quickly then all the gears start turning, because at that point Hank was as big a player as there was in the country. I knew he was from Philadelphia, and it occurred to me very quickly that he must be friends with all of these kids from LaSalle, and that would be why Lionel was crying. As it turned out, he didn't have a headache, he was crying. And you could see there's all sorts of things going on from the bench and out to the floor. And so, you know, and looking back at it, it's amazing that word would spread so quickly from the West Coast to the East Coast. You know, nowadays we've all got our smartphones and we know everything that's going on anywhere instantly. But to have gotten that word, and apparently it was one of the Fordham basketball players who was up in the stands and somehow got word. He was another Philly kid, and he, upon finding out this news, went down to the LaSalle sideline and told the huddle near the end of the game, and that's when everybody found out what had occurred. So the game ended. By that time, LaSalle had the game well in hand, and the outcome didn't, you know, matter. They could have put me out there, and LaSalle still would have won. But then the tournament was in question from that point forward, because LaSalle was moving on to the championship game, but these players, at least at that point, were certainly in no position to be able to play a basketball game. And long story short, they wound up playing the game the next day and winning the championship, as they should have and everyone expected them to. But the fact that it occurred, the death occurred of their friend while they were in the middle of a basketball game right in front of us, and that the word spread across the country that quickly really was something. So it's kind of by proxy that that's, to me, a great moment or a memorable moment in the 30 years of the MAAC, but it's the one significant moment in time that really stands out for me.